भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। I remember during his last days in his body, my Guruji, Swami Dayananda ji, someone asked him, which is the most important shloka of the Bhagavad Gita you consider? And we were expecting many other shlokas. But very surprisingly, he mentioned this shloka. I think, can you reduce the voice so that the echo is less? And that is the shloka we are going to discuss today. I request those who have already entered the hall not to leave the hall till this session is over. Or, if you want, you may leave now. Because unless I complete what I have to say, I don't want people to leave the hall in between. Especially when I am dealing with this shloka. Because half-baked understanding can be very dangerous. So the shloka is the 61st shloka of the 18th chapter. Ishvaras sarva bhutanam hriddesherjuna tishtati Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. What does the shloka say? Hey Arjuna, Lord Krishna is addressing Arjuna. Ishvaraha, the Almighty, sarva bhutanam hriddeshe tishtati. That Almighty resides in the hearts of all the beings. Then Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. And then that Ishvara controls. Brahmayan means makes people move, rotate, move, go around. In a way, controls. How? As if the beings were yantra rudhani. Yantra rudhani means they were as if on a machine and he controls them through this machine, and that machine is controlled through Maya. During my childhood, I used to have a toy. Uh, you have to key in with the spring, and then it will beat that drum and also sway. The body will sway. So that swaying and beating the drum was all controlled by the key, the spring behind. And all the beings are controlled that way. Now, this raises a lot of questions, a lot of doubts. I'll come to them one by one. That's why I said don't leave the hall. I remember some 5 years back, I don't remember, maybe 6 years back, I was traveling with a family from Chandigarh to Delhi, and on the way they stopped for some refreshment, and they had a daughter, I think 3-year-old or maybe 4-year-old daughter. So we all were going towards the restaurant. It was a kind of a food court, so varieties of food was available, different restaurants were there. And they also had what they call a remote controlled small battery operated car in which the kids can sit and enjoy the drive. So the daughter said, her father, that I want to sit in this car. And the person, I think, charged 50 rupees or 100 rupees something, and she sat on the car. Now this girl was holding the steering and the car was moving. Sometimes when she wanted to move the steering on the clockwise right side, the steering would move that way, but at other times it won't. It will move in the other direction. And I could see her face. She would get puzzled, frustrated. Why is it happening that way? And the car would move in whichever way it has to move. Because at the back, there was a person with a remote control. And actually that person was operating this car. And this girl thought she is operating the car. And that is why at times when she turned the steering on the right, the car would move on the right side. But at other times it won't. Why? Because the car was operated. She thought she is operating the car, but actually it was operated from somewhere else. Just remember this story, small story, okay? We keep it aside. We'll make use of it. I remembered a few days back, and today morning I confirmed through the internet. In January, there was a news item. In Kanpur, in somebody's house, the owner, some Mr. Avasthi, was in the US. And some burglars invaded the house, and he could see them through his CCTV camera sitting right in the US. And they had even that speaker system, two-way system. Not only the camera, not only he could see, but he could talk to somebody in front of the camera. So for him it was daytime, and for the burglars it was middle of the night or maybe late night. So he could see the movement, and the camera must have, that app must have alerted him, and then he warned them that, look, I am looking at you, what you are doing, don't do it, just leave the house, otherwise I will call the police. And they were surprised. I don't know what happened, whether they wanted to leave or they were in two minds. In the meantime, he could alert his neighbor and also the police, local police, and the police came and caught hold of these burglars. Again, where I want to focus in this story, the camera and the speaker. The camera was seeing the burglar, and the camera was talking to the burglars. But really speaking, who was seeing and who was talking? Not the camera. There was something else behind the camera. Okay? So this part, will you remember? The first story is the car. These are all real life incidents, okay? They are not imaginary stories. The car driven by the kid. The second one is the camera, speaking camera. So these two stories we will remember. Then I also remember one famous quote by Alan Watts. ALAN, Alan Watts. And just listen very carefully. Maybe my words may be slightly incorrect because I am recalling and quoting, but you can always look at the internet and you can get the real quote. You are an aperture. Aperture, you know? That hole, the eye, like even this, there is an aperture here through which the rays enter and I could see. In the camera also there is an aperture through which the rays enter and the seeing takes place. So you are an aperture through which the universe looks at and explores itself. You are an aperture through which the universe looks at and explores itself. This is a quote by Alan Watts. So, as long as I am the body, then the rule of the game is different. Aham shariram. I am the body. But when the understanding changes to idam shariram, this is the body. Okay, I am not the body. This is the body. I am the indweller of the body. Then the rule of the game changes. Even though externally everything remains same, but that understanding changes a lot of things. As long as the sun rises and the sun sets, the rule of the game is different. You have to get up at a particular time, you have to go to sleep. Sleeping is optional anyway. You can go to bed anytime, but getting up, one has to force oneself because there are things time bound. So, and that all depends on the sunrise and the sunset. Later on, when I discover that the sun never rises and never sets, I may continue to get up as before, but inside, the whole thing has changed. Okay? The view has changed, the world view changes. Similarly, As long as aham shariram, I am the body, this is what is a real reality to me, that is the truth for me, then the rule of game is different. I am responsible, I have a free will, I have to take charge of my life, we have to correct the wrong things, we have to avoid wrong things, okay? Omissions and commissions, we have to be careful, we cannot commit wrong things, nor we could choose to ignore what is to be done, that is omission to be avoided. All these things become important and they are very much true. But when that thinking changes from I am the body to I am the indweller of the body, the identification shifts. Even in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetra and kshetrajna, two words have been used. Kshetra is the body and kshetrajna, the knower of the body, is different. It is the self. So Lord Krishna says, I am the one single kshetrajna in sarva kshetreshu, in all the bodies. So the body is different and the indweller of the body is different. That indweller of the body, in the 18th chapter, Bhagavan says, controls the whole universe, as if everything is keyed in and that spring rotates the whole world, whole universe. And we think it is me who is doing. Why? Because I am identified with the body. Whatever I think, the fact remains that things happen, I don't do it. Now comes the problem. You say that I am not doing it, everything is happening by itself. That means I'll become lazy. I won't be doing anything. I won't be taking responsibility of my life. Nothing. This is a very dangerous teaching. I say, well, whatever you think, if you accept the first theory, that is also governed by that same free will. Which free will? The divine will. If you accept the second thing, that also is governed by the divine will. You get confused, that's governed by the divine will. You get enlightened, that's governed by the divine will. You get certain advices from somebody, that is also governed by the divine will. It's not just what is happening in your head is governed by the divine will. What is coming from other sources, that is also governed by the divine will. And the sum total is finally what you accept, what you don't accept. And what each individual accepts, subscribes to, that is how we get the sum total of the free will, free individual wills. And that's how the world becomes. And it's a self-contained universe. Everything is in place. Can you ever say that the pollution in the universe has increased? Can you say that? Because sum total of the carbon content remains same. Pollution can increase in one part of the universe. But saying that pollution has increased in the entire universe is absurd. Saying that the overall temperature of the universe has increased is absurd. Because overall the temperature, the average temperature remains the same. It increases at one place and decreases at another place. So when you have that whole universal view, everything is in place. There is no pollution. There is no hazardous thing. There is no waste. There is no climate change. There is nothing. But when you look at a particular part of the universe, say our own globe, then you can say, yes, the pollution has increased, the temperature has increased, etc., etc. But otherwise, in the entire universe, neither there is a shortage of water, because the total water content of the universe remains same, no matter whether there is rain here in this part of the globe or not. Correct? Do you agree with me? So, everything is in place. When the world is in peace, that's again because the majority of the human beings at that moment of time had accepted peace as their, they subscribed to peace. That's how there was peace, or there is peace. If there is a war, there is unrest, there is chaos, then a majority or a substantial chunk of the population, within them, that subscription to violence, disturbing ideas, it arose, they subscribed to it, and that's how we get violence, unrest, chaos. So it is finally the outcome of what is happening in the majority of the beings, and that happens to this world. So everything is in place. Somebody doing wrong is in place. In place means, I won't say, why it is happening. It is happening. Then somebody trying to correct it is also in place. That is also in order. Somebody doing wrong is in order. Somebody trying to correct that wrong is also in order. Somebody is successful in restoring the so-called order is also in order. And sometimes we are not successful in restoring that order, and the things go out of hands, is also in the larger order. Nothing gets destroyed and nothing gets created in the entire universe. Okay? When you see the universe as a whole. Yes, if you see a segment of the universe, then yes, there is a loss, there is some deficit, or there is an increase of something, etc., etc. But if you have the whole universal view, and that Parama Purusha, the universe itself is the Purusha. That Purusha means being, the supreme being, in the form of the universe. That Purusha is enjoying itself, seeing itself through our cameras. This whole being is a camera with a speaker. Remember that Kanpur thing. That's why I made that story. It's an instrument which has a capacity to perceive and to give output. So it's an input-output device. So this whole being is being used by what? That supreme being, which is the universe itself. It is looking at the universe through us, exploring that universe, and it itself is the universe. That's what Alan Watts. The universe, you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. Each word is important. Exploring itself, not something else, itself. It's a self-aware universe. This is a title of a book, Self-Aware Universe. It was very fascinating, by Dr. Amit Goswami. So he's a quantum physicist. So he explained that this whole universe is live, alive. It's a self-aware universe. And then Ellen Watts, what it says, also resonates with what this person said. And here in this shloka, we indirectly get this is a self-contained universe. Everything is in order. Nothing is in disorder. Even the so-called disorder is in a limited way it is a disorder, but that disorder is also part of the larger order. When I understand this thing, then what happens? A lot of burden from my head gets removed. It is like I have booked a ticket in a AC coach of a train, but I am carrying my suitcase on my head. Why? I don't want to burden the train. So I am carrying the burden on myself, not knowing whether the suitcase is on your head or it is below your seat. The total weight on the train remains same. But it is due to my own notion, I carry that suitcase on my head and continue traveling for kilometers and put myself through pain. Same thing. Aham shariram puts burden on me. Idam shariram removes that unnecessary burden. Life remains same. Nothing changes. But that extra burden which I carry, that somebody praising my body, oh, today you look handsome. Wow. You look beautiful, wonderful. Your hairstyle, your pallu style, your dhoti style. Well, nobody will say dhoti style. But, that's how people do it. And there is a way of, I've seen in YouTube, how to put the pleats and the pallu in a way that it is visible. Because that is to make it visible. Why? Because it will catch somebody's attention. And it may catch some praiseworthy phrases. And that's what we are looking for. Why? In fact, we go one step ahead. From aham shariram, it becomes aham vastram. One step further. Aham vastram means I am the clothes. I am the body itself is erroneous. We are trying to fight it out. If at all we want to fight it out. We go one step further. I am the clothes which I am wearing. So if somebody is praising my clothes, the praise comes to me. Even though it is external to my body. Correct? Even my dining table. If somebody praises my choice of crockery and dining table, I feel so happy. The day is made. And if somebody criticizes something, not even criticizes, just shows indifference. Because you start showing, this especially happens with artists. That's why artists are sensitive people. So I think a substantial chunk of suicides take place in artists. So they will start showing their paintings. Now it's so tiresome at times because you have to find something praiseworthy looking at that painting and then say a few words because that's what the artist is expecting. And it becomes difficult. And you can't tell lies, especially a person like me. So I have to find truth, scramble for words which are praiseworthy. Why? Because if my painting is praised, I am praised. If I don't praise the painting, forget about criticizing. If I show indifference, yes, okay, good. When are we having our dinner? That offends this person because he didn't pay attention to my painting. Correct? So this much identification, these are the burdens which we carry. Aham shariram, aham vastram, aham chitrapatam, whatever, painting, etc. That aham, the I's identification extends so much that we burden ourselves. We become beggars of praises and indifference. And we keep moving. That's the extra burden. But when it becomes idam shariram, this is just an instrument. It is really an instrument. Even though when we are so much identified with the body, we have to fake it and we have to say, "Oh Lord, make me your instrument." Okay? That's okay, because I don't know. But Lord says, okay, someday you will realize you are already an instrument. You want to become an instrument. It is laughable, but I can understand. So, I am already an instrument. That's a fact. That in being an instrument, I am identifying myself to be that person and carrying that extra burden. When that is removed, I get identified with the divine. I am that observer, the person behind the camera and the speakerphone, not the camera and the speakerphone. Okay? That's a different kind of, even when you try to meditate upon it, open eye meditation, who is watching? Who is behind your eyes? Who is watching? That itself is so powerful. That is the person who is watching. All this is all, and there were other words which my Guruji said. He said, everything is here. This is just tin. He used this word tin. He knocked twice and said tin. Tin means empty box. Even though we take so much of pride in this, right? But really speaking, this is merely a keyboard and a monitor. Advanced keyboard and monitor, definitely. But the real processor is somewhere here, invisible. Here means you can't, it's not visible, it's invisible, which is the source of different thought processes. The thoughts come, arise, and then we become aware of it here. Thoughts don't arise here. This place, one becomes aware of the thoughts. Thoughts arise somewhere else. And that is here. And that is where the Lord resides. And the sum total of the thoughts of all the beings makes this universe. So if the universe has to go into destruction mode, pralaya, then the thought processes of majority of the beings will move in that direction and it will move there. And if it decides to create, to grow, to improve, then the thought processes of the entire beings will move in that direction. That's how it functions. Even this speech which you are hearing, it's because of that divine will. Some of you may be accepting it, again due to the divine will. Some others may be indifferent, again due to the divine will. Some may be rejecting it, again due to the divine will. So everything is in order. So if we look at things end to end, not partially, then everything is complete. This shloka doesn't raise eyebrows. If you go halfway, partly I am the doer, partly I am not the doer. It is like we hear all this in the north. पत्ता पत्ता भी उसी की मर्जी से हिलता है. Have you heard of such phrases? No, this is such a dangerous phrase. Even though this is my favorite phrase, but I know how it is coming. Wherever this fellow doesn't want to do anything, he will say it is because of his will it will happen. It's not in my hands. But when he has to send messages through WhatsApp and watch movies on the YouTube, that time he will forget that patta patta bhi uski marzi se hilta hai. Or if the mobile phone is missing, or somebody has dropped it, some child has dropped it and the screen is broken, that time he forgets. Even the screen is broken due to the divine will. Do you understand? So it's not end to end, it's partial. What he wants to put aside, he will say it is as per his will. So when are you starting your meditation? When the Lord wills. Okay, let's go and have a pizza. Okay, let's go. That time he won't say when the Lord wills. So it's halfway. That is dangerous. Yeah, I'll come to it. If I subscribe to this, in fact, this truth that everything happens by the divine will is such an intimate thing that it should not be even uttered unless there is something to discuss about it. It is as fundamental as I am alive. Do you keep repeating this sentence? I am alive, so let's go and watch a movie. I am alive, so let's go to the dining hall. I am alive, so I am going to drink water. Do you keep repeating this sentence? I am alive, I am alive, I am alive, all the time? How odd it looks. Or going even one step backwards. I was born due to the love of my parents, and that's why let's go to the dining hall. But that's the truth. I'm born that way. My parents came together and I was born. But do I need to say all this? Even though we know it very well, and that is the truth. Similarly, everything happens due to the divine will is that intimate, private truth. It just should stay within me. And with that understanding, I try to conduct my life. Unless there are certain doubts and I need to discuss on that, yes, that is the time we can bring this topic. Otherwise, it is the most intimate truth of myself. What? That things happen due to the divine will. It cannot be uttered. Correct? Yes. Somebody's had a question. Well, that is also part of the larger order. So if somebody walks out of my class in spite of my saying, do you think I will take it seriously? That's also part of the larger order. But my reminding is also part of that larger order. So it's end to end. True. I understand. I understand. Listen, your question is really good, but I will answer something else. Okay? Your question is so good that I will address some issue which I thought I need not, but I should. Yeah, I will repeat the question. His question was, may not be verbatim, I can repeat, but the essence of his question was, something good, yes, I can accept. Okay? Somebody helping somebody, somebody feeding a poor person, whatever. Good actions we can appreciate. And I can keep quiet. It's all in order. It's divine will. But if somebody is getting raped, killed, tortured, or whatever, how will I accept that it is part of the divine will? It's not easy. Correct? In fact, it can also mean going away from one's responsibility. That's where I want to say. Whatever has to be done, if somebody is killing, if you can stop it, do it. If you can get it stopped, do it. If you can't stop it even then, fine. But know it in your heart, it's all part of that order, larger order. It's like the sun. Whether you like its heat, or you enjoy its heat, or you don't like its heat, it is there. It's part of the order. During April month, in this geography, the temperature will be somewhere around this. So there is an acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you won't go for a cover. You will still find a shade. Even parking your car, you will choose a place where there is some shade or something, isn't it? But you keep repeating, why it's so hot? Why sun has to be so hot? I don't accept it. Sun cannot be so hot. You can do that. That's also part of the order. But then you are burdening yourself. And that also is part of the order. You choose what you like. And that also is part of the order. Got my point? So that's why I said this is not something to be said. It is something to be understood. Yes? Somebody had a question? Yeah. Yeah. You said that everyone is an instrument and everything happens due to the divine will. So then we have no responsibility of ourselves? Something like that? I mean, we don't have to take any responsibility of our actions? This was the question. Do you want to take the responsibility of your action? Please go ahead. If you had said, no, I don't want to take the responsibility of my action, please go ahead. There will be certain consequences for both. When you take the responsibility of your actions, there will be certain consequence. Okay? And that can be discussed. If you don't want to take responsibility of your action, there will be certain consequence of that. And that also can be discussed. But finally, you have to choose. In fact, finally, you choose. You only choose, not me. Just by my saying, do you think you will change? No. You will change when you decide that you want to change. Correct? I can throw words, I can throw ideas, I can elucidate some points, try to explain things, but whether you will accept it or not, it's not in my control. You can't make even a 2-year-old child accept, or a 65-year-old child accept, or anywhere in between. Why 65, 85, let me say. Do you think anybody accepts anybody else? That's a big illusion. That person decides to subscribe to certain idea, and that person subscribes. Every time it is like that. Somebody agreeing to you or accepting your advice is that person's choice. Don't claim it to be your victory. Somebody not accepting, Don't claim it to be your defeat. You can try in some other means. Fine. If you can give up, fine. Both has its own consequences. Yes. Well, if you have understood that, you can sit here and we can have 15 minutes lecture further from you. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. I'm not joking. It's end to end. Mind it. End to end means what? Till your arguments finish. It is like this. The sun rises or not? Or sets or not? Tell me. Actually, it doesn't. Or does it? It does. That's how we have 10 a.m. Because the sunrise is at approximately 5:36 a.m. The whole timetable is based on the sun. Even the calendar is based on the sun. So when you know it doesn't rise or it doesn't set, and yet you are continuing your whole life with illusion, how you are doing it? It's not illusion. You say at one level it apparently it rises and it sets, and that is suitable for me to lead my life, I do it. But in the depth of my understanding, the sun doesn't rise, nor does it set. And it is not in conflict. Even though these are mutually exclusive ideas, mutually opposite ideas, and yet I have found a balance. Similarly, I can live a life where I take the responsibility of my actions. I am careful, I do everything, but deep inside me, I say all the choices, all the thought processes, everything end to end, finally it came outside me. There are actions and there are consequences. There are actions and there are consequences. That's all. So there are events. Adjectives we have added. Sin, merit. Okay? This is because of limited understanding we have to add adjectives. Really speaking, certain actions will lead to certain results. Certain other actions will lead to certain other results. Have you understood it? Understood it means, has it become your own truth? Till the time it has become your own truth, then you are doing the actions. The day you realize it is governed by somebody else, you are free from that. How do I know I have understood or not? How do I know? The day when somebody praises you on your beauty and you remain unaffected, understand you have understood that truth. This is the very simple thumb rule. Or somebody has criticized on your dressing style or whatever, and it didn't affect you. Neither praise nor criticism is affecting you. The day you achieve that, know it that you know it. Till then, you know it and you don't know it. So continue taking responsibility. Just as you take responsibility for your praises and criticisms, you take responsibility of your actions. The day you give up that, the day you stop defending yourself, you are free to commit any crime. So with this, I stop here. I have crossed so many limits today. Sorry. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.